Nothing all the rubbish that comes out there. Yeah.
Okay, can we get started? I'm sorry, we started a little bit.
Exactly.
Better late than never. This is my first meeting, the first of many more, and I hope they'll be quite pleasant meetings. All right. Welcome everyone here. And, first of all, is there any policy instructions? Policy instructions?
Father David, Canons.
No? We go straight into the agenda, and we stick with the agenda as it is. So I see my good men over here. We'd like to get started with the police update. Thank you.
I suppose best to introduce myself first. I'm Sergeant Ball. I'm one of the two sergeants that work at Mitcham. I cover Hollis Hill, Longford and Cookie Green Walls. And the other sergeant is Ian Croft, and he covers Biggs, Brazeney, Lavender and Collingswood. I haven't gone through stats or anything like that because they can be very dull, very uninteresting if I'm honest with you. If there's anything you want to ask us about, then please let me know. I've brought one of my officers from Longford and one from Pollard with me, so if you've got questions about them particular areas, then let us know. Other areas I might not know, we might not know, but if there's something you really want to know about, then let us know. I'm going to try and figure it out. Generally what we've been working on the last 3 months or so, I'll just give a rough kind of idea of lots of the activities that we're doing around at the minute. So we've got lots of stuff going on with dogs. We've done a lot of dog warrants in the last 3 months where we've seized 4 dogs and we've got another one ongoing coming up in the next few weeks. Now these aren't necessarily around dangerous dogs. People will think that it's a dangerous breed, but dogs are a massive high risk and they come to neighbourhoods now to deal with neighbourhoods officers. And so we get all kinds of things around dogs being dangerously out of control where legislation has changed around. It could be private land, neighbours, and if it's dangerously out of control, the report comes to us and we'll go around, look, see what this dog is, what's happened, stuff like that. We're seizing lots of dogs, it's really becoming a big priority with owners and responsibility really around that. You just take responsibility of your dog ownership. You can't just let it be off the lead, run about and it's scary or looking like he's going to bite people, frightening people. It's unacceptable and the risks around it are extremely high with everything that's in the press and incidents that happen. So we've done lots of stuff that we're working around that. Normally if it's a very low level kind of thing where the dog's been dangerously out of control, hasn't bitten anyone kind of thing, generally it will end up with they'll get letters about dog ownership on the first occasion. It depends on the circumstances. A second occasion, generally the dog will get seized and then it's all looked at evidence around the dog's nature and all kinds of stuff around that. The worker will then take the person to court and then what happens with the dog from there. But that's all sort of led by our status dogs unit who are sort of give the decisions around that. So there's lots of stuff we can do on that. The past probably 2 months we've done 2 brothel closures. So we've had one down on Collingswood and we've got closure notice on one today which has been up and wrong for them. So we're working with the council on tackling them issues. It's not something that we normally get lots of issues on, but I think we've got a certain group that have been in the 2 ones, so we've taken action on the first one, they've moved to another address and we've been there today. Put closure on that, which basically means they can't go back in there, otherwise they're liable for arrest. And the only people that can go in there are police, council, and the specific owners of that address. So we worked on that. Drugs warrant stuff, we work on, we did one on Cricket Green not so long back. So we're always around that kind of thing, but it is resource intensive doing a drugs warrant. So we have to look at what we can do with them and when we get enough information. But there are other units that on the borough that we can do, and I'm aware that there was one quite recently that got done by the proactive team that I'm aware of today where they covered some significant stuff. So there are other units, but if there is stuff that's coming to us as a neighbourhood team for residents saying this particular address is a problem or this is going on, we do look at it and we will attempt to resource it to the boss and stuff like that. We're doing a lot of, so we now deal with all neighbourhood crime, so if there's a neighbour dispute type crime, that comes to the officers to deal with. So it could be anything from damage to a neighbour, abuse, that kind of thing. So we deal with them types of crime that are linked to neighbours or victim and suspect live in the same ward area. We will get that crime screen to us and do investigations on it and deal with crime. A large number of youth engagement stuff that we've been working on. Specifically, there's one of our PCSOs from Pollards. I'm sure some people who are from council stuff will know that he does a lot of football activity stuff, engagement. He's got numerous ones in the go across. He doesn't just do focus on Pollards. He works there, but he is integrated with numerous youths from across the whole Mitcham area. I think he's got a tournament he's looking at between Harris and the youth club. There's something youth club down in on Fitchbridge. Yeah, lots of stuff like that, and he's doing lots on that. Did a garden clear up with the cadets, done a garden clearance. There's an elderly lady that came to light who had people deception-wise, but they come and said about, the council needs doing, overcharged and never done any work, so road trades kind of thing. We became aware of it, and the house, obviously outside of that, is quite easy to see if you're one of the people that is a little bit vulnerable. So we got the cadets down there, got some of the motor housing people, stuff that leave loaded tools, and we gave it a complete makeover. So the house now looks completely different, and it's not looking like a target for people to go there and try the same tricks. Fly tipping, which I know lots of people have concerns about. So for the borough of Merton, I'm the travelling liaison officer. We have a particular problem group. I am working with the council around them. They wouldn't generally affect sort of resident stuff because they tend to go onto private business areas and fly in, but no doubt they will have an impact on it. But I'm looking at some vehicle stuff around them that we're going to do, some markers to get these vehicles seized when they commit offences and stuff. And I, because of that role with me, I'm aware of the partner agencies on the council and work with them, and I know they're doing lots of bits on it. We did back in September, August, when we seized the vehicle. Yeah, end of August, I think it was that. Yeah, sometime then we did go on to one of the encampment sites, which was over on Malden, and we did seize the vehicle off of the encampment site, which is extremely problematic to go onto one of these sites and take a vehicle off them. It's resource intensive to do it, but we did do it. So it was, I think he got it back, but he got £700 fine, and he had to pay it before the vehicle returned. So there is stuff taking place around and things, but it can be a slow burner, and I know that's something that people are always concerned about. We always get stuff coming to us about this being for TV. I know the council will get numerous amounts. That's a sort of general update. Other than that, we also do our general stuff of we have fundings from members of the public, and we get tasked on what we call CADs, environments. It's like a tasking system. So if someone's called in, it's a neighbour issue, we'll go down and visit them, do lots of stuff like that. And we've been assisting numerous DV arrests when we they're on the wall. because of the risk around the artifices. That's sort of general, covering a few bits, but if there's anything specific you'd like to ask on an area, saying about what might be happening in general with police in Merton Borough or the South West Borough, then by all means. Oh, so sorry, that's my. Sorry, I'm talking in police terms. So domestic violence. So we call it. Yeah, it's now termed as safeguarding. Lots of it now, but it'd be around domestic violence stuff. And so we're getting asked to assist with that kind of things as well. Yes.
Good things you could do about homelessness. It's the first time I've heard about it, and if everybody knows that's happening, then the police will have a question.
So we do put it out on our Twitter. We did put out about there was a large one down at home base. I'm sure the vehicle seizure went out as well on there, but there's a large one down at home base, and we took photographs and put out the message as well around responsibility of people who are got builders in and stuff like that. We do try, but I appreciate we might not be as good as we could be with it. We probably could be better with it. I appreciate that, yeah. But it's we do try and highlight when we have good work. It's
about gangs. I know
yes.
even with young black parents or teenagers who are terrified that when their children go out, that's the last thing they leave behind. That strikes you as a perception that is valid in this time?
Difficult. It's difficult because it would be their perception from us. So as a police officer, when I go out and deal with stuff, I don't tend to go out and deal with nice type things. When we go out and deal with lots of the stuff, I mean, I've been police for 17 years, and generally the percentage of what you say I turn up to is niceties. It's not, because that's the nature of the job I do. We turn up at, obviously, safe and able, it's like different part. I've done this sponsoring all the years. We turn up at our stuff. So it's difficult to say what their perception would be from it. Going out there, I deal with it, turn up at that, but it's not an everyday occurrence. You know, it's not. People think that these things are going on every day, and they are kept to groups of known individuals generally. So I appreciate that, yeah, and I can understand that the feel of what you see on the news and what you hear and what's gone on with knife crime. Yes, obviously sends out an element of that fear. And I could understand why they may well be concerned and have their fears. Obviously, from my perspective, it's different. I can't be in their shoes and say how they feel, how their children feel. The gang incident stuff is very... So generally it's related to the same groups of people. We know they are. Generally it is kept within them groups. It's very unusual that it's someone who's not involved in that kind of network, them kind of things that they're getting up to that becomes involved, like someone targeted just randomly in that kind of way. It's rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen because we've all seen the news and these things have happened. They have, yes, but it is rare. Generally they are, we know our groups and we know what they're up to, and generally it's disputes between them that result in these things, where generally, we over drug dealing, stuff, and it is crazy. It's crazy what they will do over very minor things, but it is generally the same people. I understand that's, when you see it on the news, when you hear stuff, it sends out a perception of streets, what's happening out there, should I go out and about? And younger people especially, you're going to have them fears. I understand that. Yeah, but it is, I don't think it is as it's seen. It's not just walking down the street. It's not just you're out with a group of friends and your youngsters, and it's just happening to you because you're just out and about. It is generally those stabbing incidents, groups are because they are against each other and they are newly known individuals where it's occurred between them and it's like retaliation. So I hope that answers it slightly for you.
Yeah.
But I do understand that they would, you know, as a young person, you would have the sympathies. You know, I can't say JJ's doing a lot of engagement stuff. We do try to address elders as well. Yes.
With reference to the dogs that he was talking
Yes.
about, maybe that Alan can answer. We used to, or we employed a dog warden. What's that doing? From London Borough of Merton. Isn't that his job to save you doing it?
So, I don't know about the dog warden thing now, but ours is around crime allegations. So basically, if the dog is out now, or even in private premises as well. So if you feel you're someone, I'll take an example, you're out and about and the dog comes running over to you and it's barking, and you feel threatened by that dog, that's an offence in law. It's dangerously out of control. Even if you're in your own garden next to a neighbour's dog, it gets through into your garden and it's looking like it's going to attack you or whoever's there, and you're scared, you're in fear of that dog, it's an offence. And that's where it comes down to us dealing with it as police officers, and it wouldn't be down to the warden. And it's because of all the risks that are around dogs. It is down to dog ownership.
About he was here for it was 3, 4, 5 years ago now. But his splurge was that he was after the dangerous dogs. And after the Pollard's Hill attack, how many years ago was that now? That was quite,
I've got
with
a
the
rough
drugs
idea of what you're
related.
talking about. I think some firearms officers turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it was
It's
about
gonna be
that
something like
time.
that.
Now maybe, you know, this council have sacked him or got shot of him, but
I couldn't answer what's happened to you, but it's just crime allegation stuff around dogs is why we deal with it. And obviously, because there was lots of risks associated with what they can do, even a small dog, against a child. Yeah.
What are we, as members of the public, supposed to do when we see cyclists on the pavement or at night or out on the street with no lights on?
Right. So again, to tackle that, obviously yourselves, I wouldn't tell anybody to say to anyone or tell anyone don't do that. If it's a regular kind of thing that's happening, I would say let's take Canons team know, and we'll see if we can go down and advise these people or tell them about it and see if we see it. But it has to be taken in terms of what other priorities we have as to whether we can go and do it. And I know it is a concern to some people. Someone who's really reckless, if there's someone who's constantly doing it and they are really reckless on the pavement, cycling, and this is happening all the time, then I would suggest yes, let us know. We'll go down and see if we can firstly stop them, advise them, and if not, then there are ticket options around it. There are options that you can take to give someone a ticket for cycling in appropriate manners or cycling on the pavement, not having the light and stuff.
It's quite dangerous. Like tonight, I saw going past, I got the bus stop and a couple went through with no lights on. It's not fair for motors, is it?
I totally agree with you. It's but it boils down to its resources and priorities. We can't be everywhere to stop them in terms of where that will be in other aspects of what we have to deal with on a daily basis. It will be.
I'm going to prioritise things.
Yeah.
Bring back Dixon.
But I know what you're saying about it, but I would suggest if there was someone that we know is really, or it's an area that is really problematic with that kind of issue and they are riding completely disrespectfully, then email the St. Alambritis team, make contact with them by phone, and we at least will know that it's that area and we can try and have a look at it.
Thank you.
Just going back to the gang,
Yes.
because if you work in a school, you kind of know the names of various gangs and so on. What is the percentage, or are they, you say they're known, are they increasing? Are they decreasing? Are they getting more members? Are they decreasing numbers? Are they getting more violent? Are they less violent? How do you sort of categorise the growth or the shrinkage of it?
So it would be very difficult for me to have a kind of idea of whether it's, there's more or less. I think the things that they've changed. So it's different in the going back to stuff of knife stuff. That aspect of it has changed within these groups. You're not talking a small knife now. You're talking that they're producing machete or something like that, or a large kitchen knife, or these zombie knives they call them, which I don't want to scare everyone when I say this stuff. It's like I say, it is generally between these groups, but that aspect has definitely changed, which I think the fear aspect from that obviously comes with it, and the more openness around them with doing these sort of incidents has become, I don't know how to quite phrase it, but the dynamics have certainly changed around the attacks between these groups. It's definitely a lot more kind of the knives have definitely changed the reviews and that kind of stuff, which it is out there being seen, so it does spread fear between people, and it is, it has gone from a small knife to being that they'll produce, a sword type thing. But I mean, we do look to combat it, because I don't want to stand here and make it sound like it's just happening and we're not out there trying to combat these things. Because we are out there trying to do it, not so much us in terms of saving neighbourhoods, we're out there on the proactive side of that. Lots of engagement stuff we'll try to do. We'll go into the schools. We're quite happy if there's places that want us to come in and talk to kids. We'd be happy to come in and talk to these kids and let them, have an understanding of we're human beings as well. We're police officers, but we're human beings. We're there to do the job. We're not your enemy. At the end of the day, we're there to help you. And obviously, we won't get told. The information won't come to us because of their barriers and stuff. So it's difficult.
And culturally, they can't snitch.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah. But we do have people in the organisation who work, and it's using people's skills like JJ who works on the pollards. Engagement, his skills in engagement are, that is, he loves it. That is what he's brilliant at. And it's like, let's get him out there, let's get him involved, because he is good at breaking down the barriers, and that's where he's best being used, his skills. If that's what he's great at, let's use him, let's do that with him. But we are out there, there's stuff going on to tackle gang violence and other crime. We have our own proactive unit, we have a violent tasking unit that generally is most weekends, that gets clustered together and sent out. And we do know groups of individuals that are gang members. We generally do know who they are. And there is stuff that, probably like gentleman said there, doesn't get highlighted, especially on the local level. If you something to make bigger news, there's got to be something bigger. Like I think today where I've looked, a couple of bits where I've just looked on the briefing, there's a guy I know, and there was a warrant done at his house on one of Mitcham wards, and there was a various people coming from there, some drugs, converted firearm thing, knives. I think not just liquid, so some type of acid sort of spray that he had that he got stopped for. So that's an example. That would not. I very much doubt that anyone would have been made aware of that just because it's such a local thing, and it's not something that to us is kind of out the ordinary of going and doing them kind of things. I'm not saying that every day that's what we do, but when you've policed for a long time, it's like when I've dealt with numerous times of ones like that over my career, so it doesn't become to you that, this to other people is like, this would be a big deal actually, that we've stopped this guy and done that. And another one I picked up on as well, where they recovered a load of knives and stuff. They've done another warrant, which was, I think, this week as well. But again, it wouldn't have probably, Yeah.
The control of gang-type graffiti is very effective in stopping these gangs from taking over an area. We were able to get some removed locally and make quite a big difference.
I think the council normally are very good at getting graffiti stuff removed. It's not something we have a lot to do with the removals other than obviously reports of graffiti stuff. But I understand what you're saying. It's a bit like the broken windows thing, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, where an area looks down at the pride, that attracts more issues into that area, whereas if it doesn't and it's cleaned up and tidy, it tends to,
I thought the police had a register of graffiti and related to graffiti to the gangs concerned. They did at one time.
So the most likely people that would have that would be British Transport Police, because they tend to get the most kind of graffiti on the railway tracks and bits like that. So they tend to, I think they have the exact time. Obviously I don't know the ins and outs of their particular policing stuff, but I know that they have had like a graffiti units in the past because of how much graffiti they tend to get on like the railways. And I know that they keep sort of registers around stuff, which we can link into them if there's stuff like that.
No, 3 or 4 years ago, we were told that local police stations were doing the same thing.
It's not something I'm aware of, but it may well be that some local officers, if they've had a particular graffiti issue on their wall, that they may have well been keeping track of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Would you think that, I don't want you to put your head on the chopping block for this. Do you think that the drugs and the knife culture is more prevalent in South East London and the East End of London than it is, let's say, in London Borough of Merton as a whole? Where do you think Merton sits with the drug and knife culture compared with the other London boroughs?
So Merton is one of the safer boroughs out of all the London boroughs. We generally see, I mean, I've got a load of figures here. I have got a load of figures over like encompasses all the boroughs, but generally we sit at the bottom end of them tables. You know, with like every borough, you'll have your certain issues that, you know, will raise you higher, but we are certainly one safer borough. We're normally sort of, I think, around about fourth safest borough, third safest, something like that, where we sit in 36 boroughs. So, yeah, it is a safe borough, but it is one of the safer boroughs. And like every borough, we have our different areas. You know, you've got Malden, Mitcham, Wimbledon, and they've all got their own different issues. You know, they do. They have their own little things that are specific to that area.
So is there a specific issue for around Mitcham, would you say, or not particularly?
So Mitcham area tends to have more of the gang culture stuff.
Yeah.
Just because of the makeup of the area, I would suggest. But in a whole, again, Mitcham, even if you take that aspect of it, it's still one of the safer parts of a borough compared to other boroughs that you would look at. You know, yeah, it has its own particular stuff. Like Wimbledon is, you know, nighttime coming here completely different to somewhere like there. You know, the shop aspect that they have there, numerous shoplifters, stuff like that, which obviously we get, but not to the extent of the kinds that they get there. You know, people who do dipping. That's the kind of area where you'll get dipping offences. Numbers of them kind of things will turn up at Wimbledon. Very rare to get a dipping in Mitcham. It's different aspects of where you are.
Yes.
So dipping is pickpocketing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Police terms again. My apologies. Yes.
What is the future of Mitcham police station in relation to Wimbledon, and what are the hours of opening and closing, of course, of Mitcham?
Right, so Mitcham at the minute is Monday to Fridays 9 till 5, and
Every day of the week?
Yeah, Monday to Fridays, it's closed Saturday, Sunday.
Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday, so
So nothing at the weekends?
nothing at the weekends.
Fine.
Because at the moment, Wimbledon is the 24-hour reporting station. Now, in terms of what's going to happen between Wimbledon and Mitcham, that is a very difficult question. And for me to give any kind of specific answer to you and actually give you the right answer, I wouldn't want to say that this is what is going to happen, because I know what the thinking is around what's going to happen, but the way it is at the minute, I don't think anything has actually been concrete, decided where it's set in stone to say this is exactly where we're going to go with it. There was things that I mentioned previously about Mitcham becoming a 24-hour reporting station. That is still, as I believe, a likely option that they're looking at, and even the response team going there, but it is all still in the balance, in the air. Because there's lots of debates that have gone on with Wimbledon, and I'm sure everybody here is aware, between what's happening with it, that kind of thing. So I can't give you a specific to say this is what is going to happen with it. That's sort of the best I can say. And I know that's it's kind of skirting around it, but if I say to you, if I was to say this is what's going to happen and it doesn't, I'm going to be held to account. So you told us. So at this stage, I can't say.
Okay. So what do we do on a Saturday and a Sunday? If it's 9 till 5 during the weekday, what do we do for reporting something or getting involved?
Okay, so there's numerous options of, if it's an emergency, obviously an incident's happening there and then, someone's committing a crime there and then, you're seeing it, or you're in immediate fear of something happening to yourself, then that would be 999. If you were to say, I don't know, you parked your car up somewhere, you walk back to your car 3 hours later, and your car's been scratched, no one about you sees it, we don't know what's happened, then that would be call 101. You can also report something like that on the internet. If you have internet access, there's lots of reports that are now coming in via internet access. If it's a neighbourhood sort of issue where, I don't know, you've got some ongoing stuff with one of your neighbours, I don't know, it could be over all kinds of things that we get, like parking. We get lots of parking kind of stuff. Someone keeps parking in my space, that kind of thing. Then we have our contact numbers, and also we're on the internet as well with an email address to email us. Or alternatively, that again you can report via the internet, the normal route rather than Safe Neighbourhoods route, or you can phone 101. So there are numerous options. I know lots of it they're looking at. So I know they've closed stations down, but they're looking at lots of it for internet reporting stuff, bits like that, because I know it doesn't suit everyone, but for lots of people it is, especially younger people, the ease of, they're on their phones, they have the internet, and it's the ease of, I can report this crime, which they might not do if it isn't made as easy for them to do.
Okay, thanks. There's one other question.
Okay.
I think we can have
There's still such a thing as citizen arrest.
Citizens arrest. So there are still any person arrest powers, yes. Yeah, there are still any person arrest powers. But
I wouldn't do it, but put it right, is it?
it's putting yourself in a position. And so it's making sure that it was right to not get yourself in any kind of issues. That's the elements of it. Obviously, if it's a blatant crime, someone's committed in front of you, then there are any personal arrest powers to do that. But our advice would generally be to contact us. We would generally say, don't try to tackle someone. It would generally be our advice would be contact us.
Right. Okay, thanks a lot for
You're welcome.
presentation.
And I hope that answers
Right, if we move on to the next agenda item, the next item is Abbas for the chair.
We just have to face.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Alison. I work for Merton Clinical Commissioning Group, and I'm here to talk to groups and yourselves about our commissioning intentions. This is probably the 15th or 16th meeting I've been to over the last 6 weeks, talking to organisations about commissions. So if I just run through some slides, I've got some questions at the end, and I'm happy to take some responses once I finish this. So who are we? Merton CCG are responsible for buying, planning and monitoring local healthcare services for everyone in the borough. We actually work with 22 councils and with local partners including pharmacies, hospitals, dentists, mental health providers, the council, community groups including Health Watch, and our main aim is to improve health and wellbeing, reduce health inequalities and ensure everyone has equal access to healthcare services. So why am I here today? We work to continuously improve the services we plan and buy for people in Merton. We can only do this if we speak to patients, local community groups, to gather their views on services they use and what they feel needs improving. To do this, as I said, we've been holding a number of meetings with communities and patient groups between August and November. We're also using learning from work last year to improve our communication with patients and local people and community groups. So colleagues will know there's a number of challenges that the NHS is facing. We know patients have to wait longer than they expect to access services. The NHS is facing an unprecedented financial challenge. Also, we know that quality of our services are variable. Not all of our NHS buildings are in the best condition and need repairs. We also know that having good access to psychological therapy remains a challenge. We also know there's going to be an expected growth in population, not only in Merton but across the UK, which will put pressure on services now and in the future, and there's an increasing demand for new treatments and therapies. So what we've been doing is we've been working with our partners, including the council, public health and the voluntary sector, looking at three main themes to take forward. Start well, so when you're born, integrate support for children and families, emotional well-being and mental health. While you're getting older, well-being and dealing with long-term conditions, mental health and well-being, and obviously as we get older, we know that there are more complex and healthcare needs that we need looking at. So as I said, we've been doing a lot of work with groups and communities over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and some of them have told us that continuity of care remains a priority for people in Merton, with particular reference to ongoing support for managing long-term conditions, such as diabetes. Accessibility of services is very important to people in Merton, particularly for services which they have to use regularly. There's significant support for joining up health and social care, because services do not always feel patient-centred and do not always take into account the background and preferences of the individual. People in Merton have also told us that they value therapy and support enough specialised input. However, they did say that there were concerns about the capacity of these teams and their ability to recruit and retain good staff. And people are very positive about the move towards encouraging well-being and independence. So self-managing, making sure people can look after their own conditions, whether it be diabetes, arthritis, asthma. We have a very good social prescribing pilot in East Merton, which is being held up as a particularly good example. It's keeping people out of doctor surgery, it's also keeping them out of hospital. We also know that mental health is a clear priority for people in Merton. Access to mental health services was raised as a concern, particularly for services such as common mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. So the reason I'm here today is I really need some responses if possible in terms of what matters to you. And I've got two questions. What NHS services have you used and liked in Merton? And what services have you used and think could be improved? I'll open it up to the audience.
I have used a Nelson recently for my husband, but I think that's a very good facility.
Okay.
And we'd like one in Mitcham.
Okay, so we are looking to do some work around the redevelopment of Wilson Hospital, and we're looking to develop that as a similar model to what's happening in Helsinki.
Yeah. Just on that, our local MP's been tweeting today that the investment in the Wilson's been pulled, so can you square that for us?
No news about that at all.
Are they going to redevelop the Wilson and then close the Birches Close to move all the facilities over to there?
There are some plans in terms of looking at the surrounding buildings, and obviously they're looking at rationalising buildings and also looking at how they can improve the current services at various locations. So there is some work looking at the various NHS locations around the Wilson as well. I'm not saying about closing, but looking at how they can utilise the services better. Any other, what don't you like? Anything we don't like using or complaints about services?
I don't know the
The weight, okay. So we have heard that. Is that with your GP or is that with...
I've had that with GP.
Okay. Can I just ask how many people know about the GP hubs in East Merton and across the thing? So if you can't get an appointment at your GP practice, you can ask for practice to make an appointment at either the Nelson or at Wide Road practice, and those appointments are 8 to 8 and on weekends as well. Do people know about that?
I think the walking news out of booth.
Sorry?
I think the walking news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, walk-in centres, they could be more widely known because it varies between different surgeries. And the A&E in St George's, I think when the walk-in centre there closed, it was supposed to be A&E, so when you're triaged at A&E, there will put you up and right chat about that.
So we are promoting, the use of 111. We are promoting the use of hubs. We are also saying to people that look at your conditions, and does that condition require you to go to either your GP or in an emergency go to A&E. We have increased the number of appointments available to local residents, and the feedback that we've had has been very positive in terms of people using the hubs. I think what we are planning to do at the moment is do a campaign alongside winter and flu to promote the hubs and increase the usage from now until Christmas.
Thank you. Can you please clarify if Wide Way practice is one of the GP hubs?
It is one of the GP hubs, and as I said, if you are a resident of East Merton and you can't get an appointment at your local practice, Wide Way should be able to accommodate you between the hours of Alison and the weekends as well. And they've also got access to your medical records. You might not see your doctor, but you'll see a healthcare professional doctor who's got access to your medical records.
And do you have to get a referral from your GP, or can you come to them direct?
You can ask your GP practice to make an appointment, or you can go for 111 and they'll make an appointment for you. For those colleagues that have used it, have you had a positive experience of using the hubs? And was that appointments made through your practice, or was it made through your... 111. Okay.
Are you interested in any of the doctor's surgeries?
We are, yes.
So how come us in Longthornton have got an absolute crap doctor's surgery service?
So what's your practice saying?
What do we call it now?
Sterling Close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sterling Close, the Rowan surgery.
Rowan, okay. Okay, what seems to be the problem there, sir?
People can't get into it.
Okay.
They're lucky to have a person to see anyone at any one time. Some of our people are saying that they're in there, they're seeing a doctor, and then he has to bugger off because he's got to do something else to do.
Okay, so I don't know too much about the Rowan's practice.
Well, maybe you should do.
But I'm happy to take that back to colleagues. It's the first I've heard of issues around the Rowan practice. And I sit 20 feet from primary care, so I'm happy to take those issues back to our colleagues in primary care.
And then you've got to link that to the Rowan Park surgery that was promised to be built at day one on the Rowan Park,
right,
and was never ever built, and it doesn't look as though it ever will be built.
So some of my councillor colleagues will probably be able to shed a little bit more
No,
light.
they can't. They're just telling us lies all the time.
Okay, as I understand, there is still some work going on around the development around this. I'm not too sure. If I take the details, I'll have to read that back to you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Abbas. Thank you. others after. Great. Could I leave the
Thank you, David, and thank you for inviting me to this community forum. So this is the 5th community forum, so I've done Grace Park with Collinswood, Morden. What I tend to do is to give you a Merton picture of what's happening in the borough over the last year, and then take questions from yourselves and do it that way. But what I want to do is set the scene of the finances of the London Borough of Merton. And the finances are very, very tight. And so to the year 2023, we need to find about £20 million. There's a current gap that we need to plug and find around £20 million. So the Cabinet is looking at those issues by talking to councillors and talking to what's called the scrutiny review panels. These are made up of councillors from all the parties to look and delve into how we can plug that gap. What I can tell you is that the London Borough of Merton is not Northampton County Council, which has gone bust. So we will each year, as we have done for the last years, since 2010, when I became your leader, we have managed a balanced budget, and that is what we are duty bound to do, to provide a balanced budget so that the council can continue to provide those crucial services that are what we call statutory services, that we are mandated by the government, by the law of the land to provide, and those primarily are to look after the elderly, those who need our adult social care services, and children in particular, those children whose parents have deserted them, who are looked after by the local authority. We are their corporate parents, and to make sure that there is safeguarding in place, so children are safe, and obviously to provide school places and so on. Those are statutory duties. But the pressures on the local authority, like Merton, like many other boroughs, of whatever political complexion, are coming from two areas. The need to spend money and to look after vulnerable people, that's adult social care and children's services. Huge pressures from those two services. If I just explain that in the kind of pressures coming through in one ward, my ward, where I live in Cannon Hill, there's been a huge increase in people living over 85 years of age. And in children's services, by working with the NHS, we are looking after one particular child who is severely disabled. I am not at liberty to name them, that is illegal, but that's costing us and the local NHS £1 million a year. And that is a duty that the government says you will look after these people, Mr. Alambritis. Whatever you do, whatever way you do it, you will look after those people, and we will, and we continue to. Now the good news is that we have found £9 million of growth in the adult social care budget, and so it's unusual for a budget to get growth money, more money, and so it was necessary, it was needed, and we have done that. And children's services as well, an extra £1 million. On children's services, that is the one area that is inspected in the main. So if you recall years ago, you had audit commission and all that stuff, but today, local authorities that have a children's service are inspected by Ofsted. It's a very, very thorough inspection, and this is the inspection on which the reputation of every local authority in the country is based. And when people talk about which is a good local authority, which isn't a good local authority, which one has a good reputation, they go on the children's services Ofsted assessment. And I'm pleased to say that our children's services is the top 10 in the country. Came out as good with outstanding in three areas: leadership, the political and managerial leadership provided for children's services, safeguarding, making sure our children are safe, that's important as well, and they said that was outstanding, and adoption stroke fostering, that is outstanding as well. And today, Sadiq Khan was at Mitcham at the Acacia Preschool Children's Centre to launch his early years Healthy London plans. and came to Mitcham to look at a centre that is well run and that parents are really proud to take their children there. And in Merton, as I said, Ofsted, children's services, good, outstanding in 3 areas, top 10 in the country. Wandsworth, next door, which has half the council tax, and you may wish that you were living there so you could pay half the council tax. Sadly, their children's service is inadequate. And it just goes to show how you need to delve into a local authority to see where its reputation is. And our reputation is at the highest level because the local government sector looks at the children's Ofsted inspection as a guide as to whether this council cares, especially with regard to the most vulnerable children in particular. So, despite the added pressures, we are good at children's services with outstanding in 3 features, but we have had a cut of 63% or around about there to our government funding from the centre, from Westminster, 63%. So if your budget was cut by 63%, you would look at your household expenses and decide to close down one room, shut down the lighting in there, perhaps concentrate on another room, and so on and so forth. And that's what we have to do. We have to look at how we manage with less money in these difficult times. So how do we do that? Well, you'll all recall the quote from Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, share and share alike. So what we've done over the last few years is shared some services with other boroughs so that we can make some savings. And in sharing those services, a borough needs to be the leader of those shared services. We have one particular shared service that we provide. We are the lead borough for 4 other boroughs. That's the South London Legal Partnership. So 80 lawyers based in Morden at Gifford House on St Helier Avenue, led by the London Borough, provides the legal services for 5 boroughs, 4 others plus ourselves. And that saves each of those boroughs thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds. We're very proud of that. And that shared service is the way forward as we engage with more local authorities. And I'm pleased to say the 5th borough that joined us there said actually we would like to join the South London Legal Partnership because they run a good service and we want to take advantage and we don't mind being led by Merton, and that's Wandsworth. So Wandsworth have seen fit to come to the London Borough of Merton for us to run one of their services. And the second service is what's called the regulatory service regime, and that's licensing, weights and measures, environmental health, scoring of restaurants, counterfeit, fraud, scams and so on. And we do that for Richmond and for Wandsworth. And again, all 3 boroughs enjoy savings or what's called efficiencies with regard to those savings. So how do we go about making sure we're well run, financially stable, business-like, and will not be a Northampton County Council? We share services and that saves us money and we don't have to cut as much on for services to vulnerable people and to children. The other element, of course, is income generation. How do we make sure that we bring money that normally one wouldn't see a local authority is bringing in? So we bring money from the council tax, we bring money from the business rates, we bring money from the government, that gives us money, and that's been cut by 63%, and we may bring money from planning fees and so on, and from parking fines and so on. I'll explain the parking fines issue in a minute. But we do have income generation policies. So 3 floors at the Civic Centre, Crown House, are let out for an income to the local borough. So 3 floors, and we want to sweat that building so that it's used in a way that is business-like. So 3 floors are let entirely. And you may have heard of our continued use of events or gigs or festivals in parks, and we will continue to do that. I know there were some concerns expressed by residents about the noise and some of the detritus that followed either before or after the events through the crowds that came to see these events. We will continue to do that, but we'll engage in a bigger way with residents about how we work with the organisers to reduce noise levels, to reduce any antisocial behaviour, but also to provide that space for those events on a day or 2 days over the weekend, but that provides income to the local authority. Now, you will have heard that Theresa May said at the conference that she recently spoke at in Birmingham, the Conservative Party conference, that austerity had finished. Well, I'm sorry, but austerity hasn't finished, and austerity is still here. But what we do here in the London Borough of Merton is provide some hope during these times of austerity. Provide hope that something is happening, things are going well, children are being looked after, adult social care is being financed, but also that there are things to look forward to. So let's look at our libraries. Mitcham Library, Wimbledon Library, and a brand new Colliers-Wood Library, doing really well. Last week, the Tory Minister for Libraries, the Conservative Minister for Libraries, it was National Libraries, we came here to the London Borough of Merton to see our libraries and how well they were working. We're really very, very proud of our libraries. And again, we're sweating that asset. So both behind Mitcham at the back and Wimbledon Libraries, there's an art space, and we let that out and we raise money, and long may that continue. The other hope that we hope we've provided with school admissions and school places, for example. And so we've expanded 23 primary schools since 2010, providing 4,400 extra primary school places. Are there any parents here that have primary school children? Thank you. Okay. Well, they're out there. They are out there. They're very pleased. They're very happy, and we have provided that duty that we have to undertake, which is to provide enough primary school places for our children, and that's 4,400. Not with porter cabin additions to the schools, but with well-designed additions and extensions to those schools. And I can tell you that many parents are happy if they get, the vast majority of them get their first preference place for their children. Those primary school children go on to be 11, and therefore we need to have a secondary school places strategy, and we're working on that by introducing a brand new secondary school that's already started in temporary accommodation at Watley Avenue, which is the former adult education building that is now, adult education is now run by Merton College. And that is oversubscribed, and the parents are absolutely delighted with that secondary school, providing those extra secondary school places. And the hope again for those children, for those parents in the primary school places, comes in the fact that the Department for Education, a very, very important department, I know the great heads of state, Home Office, Treasury, Cabinet and so on, but education is very, very important. The Department for Education assesses every local authority for how that local authority succeeds in progressing children from the age of 11 to 16, Key Stage 2 to Key Stage 4, I think. And every local authority is assessed. And last year, Merton was first in the country for progressing its children from the ages of 11 to 16 in terms of progress that they made during those years. Again, top in the country. And again, that is a testimony to the head teachers, to the staff, to the non-teaching staff, to all the teachers, to the school governors, but also to the school improvement team, and to the resources that we allocate to our schools. We've got a brand new head teacher who has said that he's come from another borough and he's never seen such support from a local authority like Merton provides to its head teachers, and that's what we will continue to do. Again, school places are statutory duty. We have to provide those school places. Just coming to coming to the end of my talk, and then we'll open it up for questions. But I did want to talk about things that stick out of the ground. As people drive through the borough, what they notice is new things that stick out of the ground. That's very important that we continue to provide by providing buildings for use that stick out of the ground. And one of those is Morden Leisure Centre. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but if you've been past the brand new leisure centre building in Morden Park. Well, it's there, and it's going to be opening on November the 6th. 25 metres, 6 lane, diving pool, secondary pool as well, CAF facility, 2 water fountains, disability access, both disabled drivers, 10 parking spaces, changing spaces facility, and state-of-the-art facility for the residents of the London Borough of Merton. And we were able, by being a business-like council, to allocate £13 million of capital monies that we have to use as capital in order to put that in place. And not a single blade of grass will be lost to the residents of the London Borough of Merton, because the old swimming pool will be demolished and be turned back to green grass, and exactly the same curtilage and the same space as the new swimming pool is taking place. The building firm, Pelican, have said, and they've had huge experience in building these leisure centres, have said that they, in their estimation, it's one of the best placed, best located leisure centres they've come across in terms of the view from of the park. AFC Wimbledon are coming back, so you may, have any of you driven past Plough Lane lately? So you'll have noticed, you'll have noticed that the old dog track, the old Wimbledon dog racing track, is now flat, ready to be built on for a 11,000 going up to 20,000 stadium for AFC Wimbledon, who were kicked out of the borough up to Milton Keynes, but came back into the league. A brand new stadium.
They weren't kicked out. They weren't kicked out of the borough. They left the borough.
That's your view, sir. Thank you. So, a brand new stadium which will regenerate the whole of that area of Wimbledon Park. And with the stadium comes benefits not just for fans, but for non-footballing fans as well. We fought for that stadium in the teeth of opposition from Wandsworth Council, sadly, and from Boris Johnson, sadly. We had the support of the Secretary of State for the government in terms of its progress through planning. We have plans for Morton Town Centre, and obviously Clarion, a housing association that runs the council properties, the properties that the council nominates people to, have a £1 billion programme of new accommodation, and one of those areas is, three areas: Ravensbury, Eastfields and Hyde Park, and we're very, very proud of that investment in the borough. And we've invested monies in Mitcham Town Centre. There's still a long way to go, still not all there yet, but we are hoping that we will continue to improve Mitcham Town Centre so that it's fit for purpose and attracts business and attracts residents and shoppers as well. Okay, so finally from me on recycling, I don't know if any of you have seen the pictures of landfill. Have any of you seen the pictures of landfill where land is stuffed into land? That's got to stop. So we've introduced a new waste collection service based on a wheel bin service that most boroughs have. The vast majority of local authorities in London and in the country have a wheel bin service. So we're not doing anything radical or revolutionary. We're catching up with other boroughs, and this should lead to cleaner streets. A 1.6 million initial saving this year, going up to a saving of £2 million a year thereafter. And recycling, we hope will go up from 37% to 45%. In May, we're hoping that we can catch up with Sutton, who've moved to wheelie bins before us about last April, I believe, and their recycling rates are now 50%, and that's what we want, and that's what we desire. Now, a lot of people are concerned about the wheelie bins, and I try to explain it in ways of looking at the fuller picture. So a young couple may be concerned about the two wheelie bins spoiling their front garden, the aesthetics of their front garden, or the aesthetics of the street in terms of wheelie bins. But then that's the pressure from them, that's what they think, that's their view on wheel bins. But then we'll have John, whose mum is 95 and needs to come home from the hospital, and John expects us to look after his mum. So there's those two pressures. And I think as a council leader, as a councillor, you will look at those two pressures, and you may want to actually prefer looking after the vulnerable person, the 95-year-old, and therefore we've introduced this service to make savings of 1.6 million this year, 2 million thereafter, in order to safeguard the adult social care budget that is very, very crucial, and it is a statutory duty that we need to provide. The new service will provide an opportunity to collect batteries as well as clothes, and there will be a weekly collection service of the smelly stuff, the food waste. As you know, the system is now kicked in on the 1st of October. There are teething problems. We're working through all that. There are roads that didn't receive their will beings, there are individual houses that didn't receive their will beings, there are houses that received the wrong literature, houses that received the wrong equipment. All that is being worked through because it was a delivery of some 65,000 households. And then, of course, you have those households that are shops, that are flats above shops, or tenements, or terraces right onto the road, and they will continue with the bad service. So finally, from me, we're here in UK, Age UK Merton, and we're very keen that we continue to protect and support the voluntary sector. And so a couple of meetings here at the Cabinet replenished the support for the voluntary sector by allocating a number of sums of money for each of these organisations. So we are one of the few boroughs that continues to invest in the voluntary sector. So Citizens Advice Bureau, 340,000 is a tough time for people as they come up against assessments and against universal credit, against scams and so on, and they need advice and help. And with legal aid being cut back, the expense of going to the law, we are committed to continue to defend people by giving them the opportunity to use fully fledged, fully funded citizen advice bureaus. Wimbledon Guild continues to get £43,000 a year, South West London Law Centre £56,000, MSIL, Merton Council for Independent Living £80,000 for the work they do to looking after disabled people, and Age UK here in Merton, this is their office I believe, £73,000. I want to thank the voluntary sector. If you are a volunteer, a personal thank you from me for what you do, and just to reassure you that this council will continue to support the voluntary sector, and will in particular continue to support vulnerable people that we need to, if we are going to be a decent society, and provide hope for residents in this borough. And as the police say, we will continue to work with the police to make sure that this borough stays in the top 4 as one of the safest boroughs in London. Thank you very much. Very happy to take questions.
Yes. Question?
Question at the back.
Question? Right. 2 things. With this shared service thing, it's so successful, why don't we have to have a super council that shares everything, save even more money? The other thing is, we still print everything in about 1 million different languages, and then we provide an interpreter for somebody who can't speak English. We don't object to that.
Okay, so in terms of your first question, super boroughs share everything. What we have, I chair the South London Partnership, which is the local neighbouring boroughs, and we have a memorandum of understanding that we will continue to look at sharing opportunities. And so each of the chief executives of those boroughs, the 5 boroughs, are mandated to continue to look at sharing opportunities. And the sharing opportunities has to be a fit for all the boroughs. So unless you just want one London borough, or you want super boroughs, like there were 3 boroughs that came together around central London, or you want the London Borough of South London, the London Borough of North London, that was teased out some years ago and was rejected. But I think what you have is 32 boroughs with the City of London providing your 33rd local authority. But if you're sharing, it has to fit. And normally you share with a neighbouring borough. It's very difficult to have to share from here up to another borough far away. We will continue to support our EU citizens and the citizens who are here legally with translation services. We'll continue to do that as much as we can to help people.
Why can't they pay their own interpreter?
We have a service, and all local authorities have that service. If you dispute that or you're not happy, write to your local member of parliament. But we as a borough will continue to provide that service.
Well, I do object.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Weed bins.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be some surplus weed bins because some terrace houses have got gardens packed with flowers and so on. There's no room for the bin except on the pavement. Although it was said, I think in the January meeting, that assessment of properties is underway to see whether they can accommodate the new bins.
Yeah.
They will not come to every household. Some households, of course, will try to share with the neighbours, so then they won't need the bins either. So, will unnecessary bins be collected back?
Yes,
so
so
that's what, another point on in relation to that. I think the reduction in landfill, just what you correct me if I'm not. The reduction in landfill is mainly due to the new incinerator, down to 10%, and there is an initial cost paying to Viola towards their new vans and the bins themselves. Is that
no, the vans belong to us.
Yes.
And the bins belong to us. So all the assets belong to the local authority. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, when you look at the sums, we will say 1.6 million this year, 2 million thereafter, and there will be an increase in recycling. And one of the wheelie bins is for card and paper. Now that can be quite valuable if it's not contaminated. So we provided a wheel bin with a lid, and in previous times that was contaminated either by water, by rain, or by going in with food and cartons, and that went to landfill. So we want state-of-the-art paper and cardboard, and that will be that's very valuable to the press industry, and we get a lot of money for it, both for the fact that we're giving it to someone, but also less money, and we get tax less by having less going to landfill.
Yeah. And does the incinerator contribute, and will you collect unnecessary bins?
I need to look at that.
One other question at the back, too.
Alan,
Steve.
Steve. I'm not against wheelie bins at all.
Thank you.
But Viola and you as the leader of the council, our streets are an absolute mess at the moment. The Viola dustbin men have obviously got, the operatives have got their problem because they're being loaded and asked to do things that they didn't used to do under the old Merton days. Miscollections for the last, since the 1st of October is unbelievable, and the piles of rubbish down Rowan Road round the trees has been there for 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's building and it's building. That's getting smashed and ripped open, not by so much by the foxes, but by the traffic running over it, people kicking them out the way. And in theory, Viola have got to tidy this mess up, but they ain't going to do it, right? We've walked the streets several times with the your head of, I've forgotten his name, and his second in command, and the Viola guy, and they all made promises, and it's not being carried out. They should be, the London Borough of Merton officers should be on the back of these sorts and getting it tidied up, because it's absolutely disgraceful. And at the end of the day, you're the one to blame for it, because you're the leader of the council.
Well, thank you for that frank assessment. I have to agree with you, and I've already apologised for the state of our streets a few weeks ago. And you are right, sir. We need to make sure that the ODU get their act together, and they will get their act together. We are monitoring them very, very closely, and we hope and we believe that with the new introduction of the wheel bin service, that once that settles down, we can begin to address the fly tipping and the green bag collection that they have, that they put somewhere and is not collected for 4 or 5 days and is added to by other people. I'm acutely aware of the picture that you paint. We've got to get better, we've got to improve, and we will improve. It's taken longer than I would like, and I'm not at all pleased with Viola's performance up to now. They have got a 4-borough contract with Croydon, with Sutton and with Kingston. This is part of a big contract that was in the making some years ago. We want it to work, it will work. It's not quite there yet, but we do believe that we are seeing a slight improvement in the street scene from the wheel bins, taking the black bin liners, and hopefully that will continue. But we will continue, and we do have powers to deduct from the contract, from the owner's contract, and we have done that, and we will continue to do. And we will make sure that if they continue to do this, that their reputation is on the line as well. We will do that. But my office is working as hard as they can, and we will get there, sir. It's not right that our streets are not to the cleanliness that you, the resident, expect you pay your council tax for. But we will get there.
Also said
about... there's one other question, but I think we can move on because...
Well, I just wanted to clarify a couple of points.
Please.
You said that we as taxpayers are now paying for the wheelie bins. I was under the impression that us taxpayers were not paying for the wheelie bins.
No, the wheelie bins and the new dust carts are the property, they're your assets, they're our assets.
So we still own the dust carts?
Yes, we own the dust carts.
But plastered with London Borough of Sutton, London Borough of Kingston and London Borough of Croydon's name, like our wheelie bins.
It's a 4-borough contract, sir. It's a 4-borough contract. We own the assets.
Advertising
as I said, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, we make a saving of 1.6 million this year and 2 million thereafter.
So can you just clarify, we don't actually own an individual truck, do we? We might own a sharing truck, but we don't own a truck.
We
have a share of the fleet of trucks, but we don't own 6 trucks.
I think we do. Whether they are then, whether we share them amongst the other boroughs so that if they want one, they can have that one. But I think we have...
We're a partner in a contract.
Yeah, we're a partner in a big contract.
Yeah, we don't own individual
I think we own individual trucks.
Do we?
I can check that.
One other question over here, then I think we need to wrap up. So we can...
We're in a hurry, David.
I want to ask a question.
Go on, let's hear it.
As the council, the Scooter has a planning application for demolishing of the building. I don't know if you're aware of that. But London Borough of Merton have a covenant on there not to build houses. Are they going to exercise that covenant?
I'm not aware of the detail.
So which building was that? I didn't quite catch what you said.
La Sporta in Church Road has a building, planning application to demolish building, and Merton Council has a covenant for not to have residential units on that property.
Yeah.
Is Merton Council going to exercise that covenant?
I can look at that for you. We normally exercise all our covenants, Madam.
Just a quick one. If we all together, can we actually use other depots to take our rubbish to? I live in Norwood almost. I've got to go over to Garth Road.
Oh, you'll be in future. You'll be able
So I
to
can
go
go
to. In future, wait for the statement. But in future, you'll be able to go to any of the civic communities by the 4 boroughs.
Thank you, David.
One question over here, final question.
I'm going to ask about the school. The council has a statutory duty to provide a school. How much will it cost the council to pay for the school itself? How much are you saving by not doing it yourselves?
Yeah. So, with regard to a new secondary school, in getting together the allocation of the land, the configuration of the land to build the school, we've expended £6 million. But the school would cost in the region of 30 to 35 million. So we've saved about £29 million. And that is by working with the government of the day, with the Department for Education, with the House Federation, and that is all a big plus for the borough. There's going to be a brand new secondary school that costs us just £6 million.
6 million. So if Domex was 6.1 million, and the Eden was about 4, that's 10 million. How come it's only costing 6?
That's the figure that I understand it is costing us. I can look at the sums, whether the 3 million for the fit out for Merton Hall is from another budget, but in terms of the land accumulation, it's cost us about 6 million.
Is that because EFSA is paying back a certain amount to the council?
I can look at that for you.
And what would the health bill for children going to school in a polluted site, which is one of the most polluted in Merton and one of 15 most polluted in London, what would the health bill for children be compared to what you're saying?
I'm pleased that you've admitted that there are air quality issues throughout London.
No, I
Thank
did not
you
say
for
that.
that.
I
Yes,
said
you did.
no. I said
You
it is
said
one.
there are.
I said it is one.
Are you saying London has no air pollution
No,
problems?
I'm not saying that. But I'm
Thank
saying that you are putting a brand new school on a site that is known by Merton environmentalists, by your pollution officers, as being the most polluted site in Merton, according to your report. And also, it is one of 50 other school sites that were audited by the Mayor of London for being amongst the most polluted in London.
And the Mayor of London and the London Borough of Merton, working together, will have a strategy to address air pollution and air quality issues. We've introduced a special levy on diesel cars, and we've introduced a very, very low levy for electric cars. So we have a policy with regard to what goes where. That is all subject to planning. And planning, which is a democratic, quasi-judicial committee, there will be discussions about all aspects of the build, including whether there's flood issues, whether there's transport issues, parking issues, air quality issues, and it is for those democratically elected councillors on that planning committee to be reassured, and I'm sure that they will be, about air quality issues. There are a number of conditions that one can put to the bill that will mitigate those air quality issues. But as I said, we have a duty to provide secondary school places, and parents are very, very happy with both the start of the brand new secondary school at Wadley, and very happy with its location and position where it is set to take place. But that is all entirely up to the planning committee. They are the final arbiter of that bill.
So what is the uptake of
Okay, I'll have to
electric
bring it to
cars?
the-
This has got to do with pollution. What is the uptake of
You need to
electric cars?
pick up the issue,
Councillor,
Stephen, after the meeting is finished.
no, but what
But
is
we
the
need to
uptake
because of the
of
time.
electric
No, I'd quite like
cars?
to hear this. I'd like to hear this.
Yeah,
What is the
I'd like to hear
uptake?
it.
Because you keep saying that people will switch to electric cars, and I'm very pro that.
Yes.
But what is the uptake of electric cars in Merton, not generally, but in Merton? What is the plan to encourage people to take up, apart from the diesel levy, because that's just diesel, that they might
So
change
let's
to
discuss
petrol.
things as we go along. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's
what
discuss.
about the electric cars? What is
So-
the percentage? How many cars, how many people have bought
So we're
electric cars?
So we're not alone in this. So you can't just say Merton, so many electric cars, ones with so many electric
Now,
cars.
how many
So as you know,
registered? How many
Okay,
registered?
if I can
Let him
finish,
answer.
if I can finish. So there is a big push to move away from diesel cars to electric cars, and that by 2040, by the year 2040, according to the government, by the year 2040, that all diesel cars, all petrol cars will be phased out. Now, as to what level we're at Merton or Wandsworth or Greenwich, I don't know just yet, but we are introducing more electric vehicle terminal points, and we are introducing a very low £35, I believe, tax disc for electric cars, and we will push and we will lobby and we will encourage and assuage residents about the importance of moving away from polluting cars to electric cars. I can't say to you that today there's 5,000 or 6,000. I doubt that in the whole country there are electric cars in their thousands. But people are beginning to move that way.
17,500.
Well, that's good. That's good in the country. Charging. That's good.
Thank you, Stephen, for that
Thank you.
very comprehensive presentation. And just like to call on Alison.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alison. I'm the project manager for the Canons House and Grounds, and it's a Parks for People project. And the Canons is over there in relation to this building. So this is Heritage Lottery and big lottery funded. So it's grant funded by others, by third parties, and it has some match funding from Merton through existing budgets. That's a really good example of nominative determination, Alison Plant. So I'm about parks. This is a grade 2 star listed house. I'm about, I deal with parks, developments, but also repurposing redundant, disused park buildings. So the capital works, that's what we call capital works. This is really about the construction of the park, or the works that are going ahead. So we have £4.4 million worth of grant funding, as I said. And the works are going to take place over 2.5 years. So at the moment we're in the design phase. So we're in autumn of 2018, and that should go on to winter. And then we will go out to tender. We have 2 contracts. One is the landscape contract, and the other one is the building contract. And that will be over winter and spring. And then we'll be on site spring and summer 2019, and we will be ending in 2020 or a little bit later, because this project is going to go on. There will be 2 phases to the building contract. So the main construction works are the restoration of the Canons House, the Dovecot, which is Mitcham's oldest building, and the obelisk, which you'll know around the cricket green area. We will be demolishing the 1960s extensions. I'll show you later in some of the images. And the bit that I get really excited about is that we will be providing a new build cafe on the side of the Dira Hall, and new public toilets, including disabled access toilets. And a new playground. And the new playground designer is Will Hardy. He's on TV. He's on Amazing Spaces. He works for George Clark, that's right. So he works with George Clark. So we have a celebrity on this project. And then I'll show you the landscape work. So it's basically a project to unify this very disjointed and awkward landscape, because it's very difficult to sort of read the landscape at the moment. And the other thing that we'll be doing is we'll be having community spaces and office spaces in the house. So I will show you what the existing, obviously most of you will know this is the back of the house, and we've got, there's a real lack of regularity in the Georgian facade. We've got lots of downpipes. It's quite disjointed and it doesn't look so good. So we will be restoring that to its Georgian facade. And this is Madeira Hall, which is going to be staying, with the existing community uses staying at the moment. And we will be demolishing that kiosk and the 60s extension with the disused toilets on the side of it. So the Canons House, grade 2 star listed. It's not that exciting inside. This is one of the pictures of, it has a balustrade with a barley twist on it, which is really nice, but it's actually covered up with a boarding there, and that's the other side of the boarding, and there are polystyrene tiles on the ceiling. There are lots of additions that are thoroughly unpleasant, so we'll be stripping those out, and we will be restoring and conserving the house through the construction process. We have different configurations of office space. I was looking at that today, whether we'll have touchdown desks, whether we'll have short-term monthly lets or 6 monthly lets, but you never know what the businesses will attract. So it might be start-up businesses that want just touchdown desks because they can't afford to pay for the longer rents, or we might have lots of interest from different organisations, tech hubs. So we'll also have in the parlour, which is the room on the ground floor that overlooks the fish pond, we'll have community and corporate events for hire. And there'll be a community heritage centre and interpretation centre in the basement of the project. And there'll be a lot of interpretation throughout the site, throughout the park. So this is the proposal. Obviously you can't read this, but so this is the pond, the fish pond that's going to be excavated. And the car park, that's the overflow car park for the Canons Leisure Centre, has been extended and that will be refurbished. And there will be no loss of car parking spaces, and it's really important to be aware that we are moving the play area to the car park that's in front of the leisure centre, but there will be no loss of parking spaces. So we'll be moving the play area from the Canons Recreation Ground. We'll be uncovering the old running track. Strangely enough, there was no funding to reinstate the running track, so that will be subject to a grant funding application, and I won't be uncovering it until we can reinstate it. So this is the east lawn, and that's the west lawn. Events areas, and the walled garden there will be far more accessible, because we'll be opening up an east-west access across the park, so you'll be able to see from one end to the other and see what's going on. Be able to navigate and find your way around, because at the moment you're hiding through and trying to work out where you are. So this is the Madeira Hall, that's number 3 on the plan, and the new cafe and toilets are number 2 on the side, and then they'll be overlooking the side of the Canon's house. So this is a visual of the east lawn, so you can see how it's far more unified. And these are called trompe-l'oeil windows, so they're not real windows, but they're painted on. Uniformity in the downpipes, and then you can see the cafe on the side of Madeira Hall, and you can also see that through route, from which you can get from one end of the site to the other and access the walled garden. And this is an events area and performance space over here. So this is the side of Madeira Hall and the new cafe, and it has seating inside and outside, 100 covers in total. It's just going to be a central hub and a meeting point for the park. It's not only an attraction in the park, but in Mitcham, it's quite obvious that there's a dearth of decent coffee shops, decent places to meet, and this will attract hopefully people into the Canons, and people will stay and either look at the interpretation centre or enjoy the environment, the play area, and all the features that we're providing. This is an older plan basement, so there's an audio-visual area, the office is still there, and displays that will be flexible. And you can see there's a new lift that has planning listed building consent. It's a very simple lift, it's very unobtrusive, and it will mean that you have level access into the building through the basement, that's opposite the cafe. You can go into the lift and go up to the various different floors. So this makes the Canons a far more accessible building. And then we have, this is down as an exhibition area, but we're looking at making it more of a reading room so that you can come into a Mitcham and read up about Mitcham's history. It's hopefully more welcoming and more friendly, and it's something that we could have exhibitions and displays in there, but it's somewhere where you might feel more comfortable looking at the items that we've inherited from the Heritage Centre. So my colleague Hannah Shimko, who's away at the moment, she's been organising a whole range of events this year, and she's doing that over a programme of 4 years. So this year it's introducing people to the Canons, letting them know where it is and letting them find out more about it. Next year is about rediscovering the Canons, what is there and how can we make the most of it. The following year is about celebrating what's there, publicising it, promoting it, and then the future is about the legacy that the Canons will have for Mitcham. And there are all sorts of engagement opportunities. So we've got historical engagement, so you might want to be a volunteer showing people around the Dovecot. There are heritage volunteering opportunities. and engagement opportunities, and also general community opportunities in the two community areas, one in the house and one in the basement of the Canons. This is still some of the things that, I mean, she's been organising all sorts of events. I've got a whole massive list here, but I'm not going to read them out to you now. But this year so far, she's had the Canons in View photographic project. This is a proposal for the old hearth cooking area at the basement of the Canons. All sorts of different ideas are floating about at the moment. This is a local school because there's a curriculum project that's already been built and put together for the Canons. It's working really well. They're obviously very happy. And this is the proposed play area. It's just an artist's impression at the moment because the workshops will be taking place with Will Hardy, who will be led by residents of Mitcham, young and old alike. It's not just for children. And that one of the ways that we're reaching them is as approaching the Mitcham cluster schools. So there's the Dovecote. Forthcoming events, there will be an archaeological dig next year. The Wandle Educational Trust are running a programme at the moment. Obviously, as I said, the playground workshops. And the Friends of the Canons will be organising lots of volunteering opportunities, and they're looking at launching at a date in... Have you set a date for that? Do you know? No. It clashed with another date, so we're resetting a date for that, but they'll be overseeing lots of volunteering opportunities. At the moment, they're responsible for the volunteering in the gardens, but they will be looking at wider engagement areas. So thank you very much. Any questions?
You mentioned the running track.
Oh, yes.
Restoring it.
Yes.
It used to be a 400-yard track.
Yeah.
So you're going to put it back to 400 yards, or are you going to put it to the metric 400 metres?
Oh, well, I'm going to check the proposals, but there are pros and cons for this, because historically, the correct way to deal with it would be to... Sandra, why are you shaking your head?
Not very well.
You're not actually. So if you're restoring it and preserving it, you will restore it to the correct distance. If you were looking to the future for to attract people who, say, for Mitcham local schools, they go to Sutton, the Sutton Arena, and so you have to weigh that up. So we haven't yet done the grant funding to reinstate it because there are some serious trip hazards on there at the moment. To uncover it further and create more trip hazards is a definite no. So we need to look at the grant funding. The running track was going to be the first quick win, one of the first aspects I was going to look at this project, but it will be later on in the project. So I can't tell you. I don't know.
It took a long time to tell me, didn't it?
Pardon?
It took you a long time to tell me, you couldn't tell me. Right, okay, next one was, are these projects, are they going to be with paid staff?
Paid staff for the
Paid
project?
staff, are they going to be paid or are they going to be volunteers to do it?
There are lots of volunteering opportunities, and the Friends of the Canons are overseeing.
So they won't be paid?
Volunteers are not paid yet.
Okay, but there won't be any paid staff there?
There is an opportunity for horticultural officer, but we need to look at that.
Finally, the Dovecote, what did you say about the Dovecote?
We'll be restoring that.
Can be restored? What, and they'll all stop be open so that council can go back in there again?
No, I don't think it will be restored. It has listed building consent to restore.
I was in there a few months ago, and what I don't know, it was there. Yeah.
I don't think we'll be encouraging jobs in there because there's no one to look after them or maintain.
And if you steal one, you'll get home called.
It's listed. Yeah, we have to look after it.
Because I've lived in Nick for a long time, I'm very old. I do remember further education coming to us.
Yes.
That's things like lip reading classes
Yes.
and very vocational things.
In the house,
Happen,
yeah.
isn't it? Would that be something you'd encourage again?
Yeah, we're looking at educational opportunities. That would be in the basement of the house. So there are quite, as you can see from the plan, they're quite small rooms.
Yeah, like whether it being a house, you know.
Yeah. So there are opportunities to rent the community space on the ground floor of the parlour that overlooks the fish pond, but also opportunities to have all sorts of community events in the basement, and that would include community education and learning. So there's no, yeah.
There's a question here and on the back, and then I think we need to move on because it's moving on with time.
Unpleasant, overloaded skip, which has been sitting
I know, it's horrible.
for ages. Can we get rid of that? Because I'm very much afraid when contract work starts, there may be more attempts to areas of rubbish dump. It took us many years to stop the council from putting horticultural waste in that very fine commercial woodland, which was originally planted by the council to screen the roof lines of the leisure centre.
So the question is the skip going?
Yes, can we get rid of that?
We don't know who.
And make sure that the area isn't used for, shall we say, storage of waste during the contract.
The skip is nothing to do with green spaces.
No, but where does it come from?
So the identity for the skip is on the side. I took photos of it the other day because somebody had fly-tipped rubbish and it still had their name and address on it. So I took photos of it, but I think it must be something to do with the leisure centre, but I don't know. But that skip will be costing somebody. So I'll ask my colleagues to sort it out.
Is the London Borough of Merton Heritage Centre moving back into the Canons house?
They've kindly donated all sorts of items related.
So they're not moving back in there, they're just donating stuff to be shown. We used to have
No,
that
not
as
moving
our
back.
heritage centre.
No, they're not moving back in.
Right, okay.
Okay, well, shall we thank Alison for excellent presentation? Thank you.
It's just a promotion enterprise.
All right, item 6 is the open forum. Is there any agenda items, any issues that you want to raise? Yeah?
Audrey, everyone Stephen's pretty last question, so if you want to raise it, I can give you the answer that I've got.
I want to know what progress has been made with this old shop. Thank you. In Manor Road that's being used as tyres, old cars and rubbish.
Yes, so I know Councillor Wilson's been very closely involved in this. Spoke to Neil Milligan, who's the head of planning and building control at the council. His update was that they've passed the files to a prosecution officer to chase up. They expect them to get on the case over the next couple of weeks, and in the next month visit the site and prepare witness statements to pursue further prosecution. So they are on the case. I think it's taken longer than they would like, but they are going back to prosecution.
4 years.
But the case was in August and they are still working there. The tyres are still in the shop.
So they've got to go back to court again.
Oil
Yeah.
and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a long time, I think.
I-
It's taken years.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll go as quick as they can, but lawyers.
Any other issues?
One announcement and one first question, Stephen. The announcement is if people are interested, they can go along at 2:30 or between 2:30 and 4 o'clock on Thursday next week to Cricket Green School to inspect the archaeological dig, which is taking place there, so they can look at the trench and the finds. It's part of preparing for the expansion of the school. Quite an interesting site with the whole place arch already there, so it's an interesting thing to do. So that's the 25th of October between 2:30 and 4 o'clock at Cricket Green School on Church Road. And Stephen, you're obviously aware, and it's been very well publicised, about the concerns about the future of cricket. In Cricket Green, can you tell us what council can do to help us ensure the long-term security of the cricket pavilion and cricket on the green?
Yeah, so the council is fully behind your attempts and everyone's attempts to make sure that the pavilion and playing of cricket on the cricket green stays forever and a day. And so we'll do all we can to engage with whoever owns that bird bullock and might own a bit of the land or might own the land on which the pavilion is, to make sure that in whatever planning application they put in, that the future of the pavilion and the cricket green where cricket has been played since the 1600s continues. And I know that you're doing sterling work as well. The important thing to do is to make sure that whoever is the applicant knows full well the council as an organisation is not minded whatsoever to lose that pavilion and or the playing and or the cricket green.
Thank you.
Okay, unless there are any other questions, I think we want to bring this meeting to productive conclusion. I thank you for all being here. Look forward to.
So one last thing, David. For our next meeting in February, we have a choice of venues. And I'm happy to kind of leave it up to the audience to see which one you prefer. A lot of our regular ones are not available, including here. So your choices are Mitcham Parish Centre on Church Road or Pollard's Hill Library.
Parish. Anyone for Pollard's Hill Library?
Parish Road? In Church Lane.
Chair's discretion.
What date was that?
So it's on the 27th of February.
Just confirm where you're going?
Pollard's Hill Library.
No, we don't. We don't. You wanted for waiting for the.
What was the other choice?
Yeah.
The Parish Centre.
We want the parish centre.
Parish Centre.
So you all vote properly, please. Yes.
Let's have a go.
1 second.
Parish Church Centre.
What are you doing? Sorry,
Majority parish.
No, can we start again? Can I say something? What else did I be left out with so many things? So can we please, yes, you're in the same circle. Can we please have the next one in Paradise so we can engage especially all the people who have got the opportunity to come out. Okay? Please, I'm asking you.
They're not going to come out.
Then wait, I will ensure that I go around and remind them. I will remind them, please. Okay?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
I'm thanking you. I'd like to say, she's right.
There's nothing wrong with Pollard's Hill at the one after that.
Thanks for coming and tell us the important.
Right.